Hi, I'm Victoria, a licensed esthetician and the owner of Skin by You and your host of your Besthetician podcast. This is Chris, my business partner and husband. Today we're going to talk about the truths of going solo as an esthetician. There are so many misconceptions on this topic. It looks so easy and fun, but there's so many truths and a lot of trial and error when it comes to opening up your own business and things that you have to be prepared for. So we're going to dive deep into this topic. Hopefully we can help other estheticians or just anyone going to open up their own business, because it's not all butterflies and rainbows.
Yeah, and I think we're really going to speak from experience here about what we went through when we opened up our businesses, because the easiest way to get through it and the most honest way. So we're not going to kind of guess and assume or think of what, generally it would be like, but actually talk about what we did, how we did things, the mistakes that we made. You talk about all the time, the question that you get constantly is how to go solo, tips for going solo. And I know there's a lot of information out there, and we haven't consumed all that information, but the best we can do is just give our honest advice. So I think to start off, a really basic question would be, what would be off the top of your brain right now to get the conversation going of what tips that you would, off the top of your brain, recommend to somebody going solo?
I think that there's so much more power in your hands. I know it sounds weird, but when you're going solo as an esthetician, you do not need 100 different devices. And that's something that I have learned along the way. And even being almost 2 years into being a solo esthetician, there's some things that I wouldn't have invested in first right off the bat as a solo esthetician. So I think not comparing yourself to other estheticians and just realizing the power of your expertise and being confident going solo. So if you are going to make that decision, I think it's really important to figure out your niche of what you want to focus on. You don't have to have a million different devices. You are an expert in being an esthetician. So bringing on one line, one facial that you are confident in, that you can just skyrocket your business in.
Yeah, to add on that, it's an amazing piece of advice. I think comparing yourselves is huge, because it's really easy to, when you go solo, of course you're getting inspired by other solo estheticians, and then you see other solo estheticians that are crushing it, and the things that they have are microneedling, they have hydrofacial, they have other, maybe perfect derma peel, they have all these more expensive treatments, and you get in and just go, if I go solo, it's immediately going to cost me $50,000, and it just goes, how could I, how could I ever go solo? So financially, I love that you're saying put the trust in yourself as a solo esthetician and the trust in your hands. Like that's like, it's key there. But then financially, that's how we built our business, is because we, at the time, we didn't have, a bunch of cash and a bunch of, we didn't have a huge loan opportunity to jump in. So we went, okay, what can we do with what you have? And what you had was your hands and your knowledge. And with those two things, you brought in a line that you loved, that you already knew, which was Skin Fitness. If you haven't heard of it, it's a smaller company out of Florida, which the barrier to entry was a little bit lower than most, which is also useful, but you love their products, and you knew you could give a great facial. And those two things in itself gave us the possibility to jump in and go, if we do, we did all this math. I'd have to look back at the paper. We need 7 facials a week to pay the rent and to get everything off the ground. And if we do 14 facials a week, we're in profiting, but it was all based off how many facials you could do and what the price of those facials were. You have anything to add on from there?
Yeah. And also, I want to circle back. I remember when I first went solo and I compared myself to bigger estheticians. That is not where you're going to start as a solo esthetician. And I think it's really important to look at yourself, establish goals for your business. It's not the end of the world that you don't carry every single service, every single device. That's where I struggled in the beginning, was feeling that I needed more to to be a good esthetician, to provide for my clients. And you can provide, people are going to fall in love with you for who you are as a service provider. It is hard, I will say, when you compare yourself and you feel you don't have all the tools, but I promise you, you can give an amazing facial and grow from there. And I used to look at myself and see all these estheticians that you see going solo. It's amazing. It's great. We have been there before, but knowing your worth, knowing who you are as an esthetician, you can provide so much value. And don't compare yourself to an esthetician that has 10K plus followers is my big thing, because they've been established or around for a long time.
Or estheticians who have just, they've had their solo business for 2, 3, 4, or even 1 year on you, because that whole year makes a huge difference in building that clientele. And then I do you have anything I wanted to add? I was kind of going to leg off there, if you're okay finishing up that kind of point. But legging off there, I want to talk about, when you talk about comparison, it's really easy to look at, for us, we opened up in a new city, in a new state with no clientele. There wasn't a single person we could call to come in the door. No mom, no sister, no cousin, no uncle, nobody that we had that could even come in as like a model, right?
Yeah.
It was all new people in a new state. So for us to compare people, especially when we looked at, she opened 6 months ago, or they opened 8 months ago, or they opened last month. If we compared ourselves to them, you also don't know if other people left the med spa and were able to take a clientele with them. You don't know people's family and situation. And I know this is not going to speak to every single person, but it's just a general comparison idea of, we did compare ourselves to people, and we had to like break ourselves out of this box of just going like, hey, we didn't pull not that, it's a bad thing to pull a clientele. That means you're an amazing esthetician. When you go solo, people are going to follow you, which is great, but not everybody has that. So when you first open your business and you don't have that opportunity to pull a clientele, don't compare yourself to somebody that they knew when they opened doors, they had 10 or even 20 clients in the door already.
You never know anybody's current situation. If they are well off, if they were working at a med spa or wherever they worked, that they were working towards that goal, and they can bring a whole clientele and support their business. We didn't have any of that. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend for everybody, because not everybody is built. I think that you have to go into it with the mindset of, this is going to work. This is the only option. So if you don't have a clientele, or you don't have a savings, whatever makes you feel comfortable, you have to go into it, no matter what you do, of this is the only option and this is the only way that it's going to work. Because a lot of people, in my opinion, not everyone, but it looks fun and games on social media. So there is so much more to it. People don't go into depth, and that's why I want to just express that it takes so much hard work. I'm just now a year and a half into my own solo business, and I'm still not where I want to be. It's challenging. It has ups and downs. I have great months, I have okay months, and I just have to know how to balance the emotion of owning your own business. So it's not all butterflies and rainbows. And luckily, just now we have gotten to a place where I feel, and I know we are a successful business. So it takes time, it takes dedication. But when you open up your own business, you have to go into the mindset of, this is all or nothing. And with that being said, we took out loans to even make progress in our business. We financed the hydrofacial machine. There are so many things that we invested in because we said, this is all or nothing. This is all we're gonna do, or it's not gonna work out, And we were like, there's no choice of it not working out.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really important point. We had to talk actually the other day about the same subject, is that you said, somebody wants to go solo, what tips would I recommend for marketing? And because me and Victoria, we always go back and forth about this, because we want to provide the best value to every single person who reaches out via DM or phone call, whatever it is to you. And it sounds crazy, and maybe we're coming from a different lens, because when we open this business, all of our chips were in, to be very blunt and honest, when we hit that first month, it was like, if this doesn't work out, the bills are not paid at the business. Like there was no, I didn't, at the time I didn't work a huge full-time job that made over 6 figures that I could cover your business and cover our own bills. It was, we went into this business going, this business is going to fund itself. This is going to work. So like Victoria just said, is you have to, and some people maybe can jump in as an esthetician with a husband or with a big funding or, with a loan or whatever from somebody that they know or investor, but most people don't have that option. That seems like it's the more rare crowd. Most people are going into it where maybe they have a husband that works that can provide for the home, but when they go into their own business, they have to make the money and make their business self-sufficient. So when you're in that, like we were,
or they have grown up in the same town their whole life, so they have a name, people know them.
It's all or nothing though.
Yeah.
And I think that, for most people, I want to give advice to, because if you already have the funding and you have the money and you jump into the business and if it works or it doesn't work, this podcast is not for you. This is for the people who this is their full-time job and they want to go solo. And the best advice we could give you is go all in. Mm-hmm. Don't dabble. Don't have backup plans, because when you have backup plans, you treat this like a hobby.
Yeah.
And we jumped into this business. This wasn't a hobby.
Yeah.
This was your full-time job. This is your career. This is your dream. This was everything. And I recommend that to everybody.
Yeah. And I think also the way that you present yourself on social media to the average consumer, if somebody stumbles across your page, I think it's very important to provide value to your Instagram page. So whether that's you being educational or you presenting yourself a certain way, present yourself however you want to attract your clientele. But I think it's very important to be professional on your feed, to show up in scrubs, for instance, and talk about an informational reel, things that add value to, if somebody is looking to book an appointment, they are going to see you as a professional and not somebody who's making silly reels. Yep. I think that's what separates you apart, and that's something that has separated me apart as an esthetician when people are looking to book an appointment, is the professionalism. And I think that's something that has been so wishy-washy on Instagram, because it's so normal to just follow trends and follow people. So I think it's good to have a balance of both, a personality, of course, not saying that you have to be professional in every single video and, make yourself this perfect presence, but adding personality, but keeping the professionalism, in my opinion.
I think that goes back into treating it like a hobby and treating it like a profession and a career, is that, that's how you feel in your personal life, and that should translate onto your Instagram as well. Is if people come onto your Instagram and feel like it's a goofy, fun hobby thing of yours, compared to something that you're coming correct and you're coming with information, you're coming to help, and you're coming to change people's lives, people can see that. Like, people smell that stuff out. When you look at businesses, say you're going to get your lashes done and you see somebody, not to knock anybody who does it out of their house, but it feels like, they just do it as a side thing out of their house. If you're looking for the best lashes in the world, you're going to look for somebody with a studio. You're going to look for somebody who has information on how to clean lashes and,
but we all have to start somewhere. So that's,
of course. And it's not about not doing it. It's about what you come across doing that is what I'm saying, is that
if you're
when you
in
treat
your house,
it,
pretend like show that you're like a professional. Nobody would ever know that you're in your house.
Yeah, treat it like you have a studio, because it's not about being in your house is the problem. It's about treating it like a hobby is the problem. Yeah. And that's where people can sniff out, because you can have a studio and still treat it like a hobby as well. Yeah. But what we did one of our big things was separating ourselves as going, let's take this more serious than anybody else at your caliber. Let's take this more serious.
A small example too is today I had a new booking online and she came from TikTok. I don't post a lot on TikTok. I don't really put a lot of effort into that platform, but I had one booking today and it came from TikTok. I was so surprised. I had to confirm in person, did you find me on TikTok? Because that's what she said on her intake form. She said that the way that I came across and how I was professional and personable made her book with me, and not to pat myself on the back, but it just shows that you don't have to have a lot of followers and you don't have to have a huge social media presence. All it takes is one person looking you up and seeing a personable person and just someone who genuinely cares about people. And she said that you didn't seem intimidating to me. So I just share this because you never know the impact that you're going to make on somebody else and somebody booking with you just because you don't have tons of followers on Instagram. So I think it's just so important. It's easy to follow other people. It's easy to, do what's trending on social media, and, it's okay to follow, in that way. But I think that there is a when you're first getting started, to stay professional, because people don't understand if you're being silly or goofy when you're first starting. I mean, it's silly, but when you're first trying to establish yourself, don't make silly reels, in my opinion. I would be very professional and somebody that you can trust. Add value to them,
Yeah, and if you think about the people, if you are, say, local and have friends and family in your area, and you jump on and you're being silly and just having fun with it, those are the people who are going to potentially refer you. Those are people who are potentially going to come in, and if they see you jump into this thing, especially like aesthetics, which I think it's a huge growing industry, but at the same time, there's also a large group of society who thinks estheticians is like a silly thing. They think it's like a fun, oh yeah, you work on faces all day. Not really that estheticians are making from $100,000 to $500,000 a year, but there is a giant group of society who's like, that's fun, have fun. It's like how hair used to be, and even hair can be like that now, where it's like, oh, you're a hairstylist, that's so fun. Right. And so
people don't realize the
the impact that you make, and that this is a career. So with that being said, when you come on and you show yourself professional and clean and clear, those people are going to go, oh, this is different. This is somebody who's taken something very serious. This is somebody who has lots of knowledge and who's teaching me things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think, I think about my family who's back in California, and they see a lot of the content that we post. And now we come back around, they see Victoria different than they used to when I first told them, oh, she's an esthetician. It was like, oh, that's fun. And now they see this information coming out. They're going like, I didn't know that sunscreen made such a big deal. And now they're buying sunscreen from Victoria, or, asking more questions and going, should I be getting these services?
Yeah.
And these are kind of older, very stubborn women who now, because of the information that Victoria puts out, they are in such a clear, concise, professional way, they can trust you as a source rather than if you're dancing.
And I feel like you don't have to be so desperate, in my opinion. I think that the more value that you put out there and you show your worth and, kind of prove yourself at that point, I think that you attract the right clientele to where you work less but charge more. And with that being said, I would say don't discount your services, because that is going to create a demand for people who only want your services when they're on sale. So that's one thing that I have learned, and something that I am very glad that we didn't continue to do, was to discount my services, because that's my profession. That's my time. This is not a side hobby. This is real life of how you are going to provide for your family or yourself. So, for us, that was huge in the beginning of, as a solo esthetician, you can provide an offer to start, but as you grow and maybe you're a few months in, maybe when somebody is in person, add value to their service without advertising it online. So for instance, I'll throw in a free face mask, and I'll say it's just for them, or I will give them a product or something that is, a Clean Skin Club towel, things that add value to the service, so that you're not discounting your service, but you're adding value so your client knows that you care about them, and that's what brings them back.
And you can even run specials on that too. And what Victoria's referring to, in case you kind of missed it because you jumped in quickly, was we're talking about specials, about running a $50 special. No, I think you explained it. I just wanted to double back on it. But running a $99 special, things like that, we learned very quickly were not a good idea.
You don't
didn't
get the
bring
right
in the
type
right
of clientele.
Yeah, Jinx.
And you don't want to I mean, you will be so much more at peace knowing that people want to pay for your services, not like, oh my gosh, this person, you don't attract the right clientele.
So the best way to do that without running a special or are you still running a special but not discounting services is adding more value to the service. So instead of saying, here's the regular facial that's normally $100, now it's $50, it's here's the regular service that's normally $100, but I'm adding on X, Y, and Z that now it's worth $170, but I'm gonna do it for $100. So you add in 10 extra minutes of massage, you add in an extra mask, you add in LED, anything that you can throw on top of it, or give away a free Olipop and some gummy bears. I don't know.
Whoa,
but what you're adding,
that has nothing to do with skincare, but
what you're doing is you're adding more value. But when the customer wants to go rebook again, yes, they might not have those things, but they're already used to the price, and you know that they're a good customer already.
Yeah, and adding value to high number of like high. What am I saying? High.
In services, I don't know where you're going.
High money. Oh my gosh.
High value.
No, services that are expensive. So
okay, there you go.
If you add, like for instance, we run a hydrofacial special and we add dermaplaning and like your first add-on's free and you get $50 off. That is still a really expensive service. So no, even then you're still attracting the right clientele. So that's our special, that's hydrofacial. But let's say you only can offer facials. So that would be having a really expensive facial and adding, a certain amount off of that high percentage because you're still attracting the right clientele.
Okay, we'll take a 2-minute break and then we'll be right back.
So sorry, the baby woke up. So if you guys have any questions, we would love to just go in more depth into any questions that you guys have. Please comment below. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate all of you and we'll see you next time.